All right.
Let's do one more just in case. Ready? 1, 2, 3, clap. Okay, we should be synced.
Aside from knowing when to start the sync, what's the point of the clap?
That's literally the only point of it.
Then why did you say just in case?
Just to make, I don't know, then I have two things to line up. So I'll make sure
and if,
they're lined
if the
up.
first one is good and the second one is bad, you're going to have a clap to have to edit out.
It's fine. I edit stuff all the time.
No, you don't.
Here.
Yeah, I do. Because otherwise this wouldn't be in there all the time.
I don't edit out your ice clink noise. I edit out, like, if we stumble over our words or, like...
I don't stumble over anything. Wake up, everybody. Today is May 12th, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Karch Palashchi, joined by my co-host, Jason Wright. If you decide you like us or are looking for an alternative way to waste money while quarantined at home, you can find us at neverfreetoplay.com, patreon.com/neverfreetoplay, or on all the other social media where we are Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us over at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Jason, how are you doing?
Dude, I just gotta say that I am very impressed that you're nailing this on the first time every time now. It took 12 episodes, but you're getting it.
I appreciate that, but I am still reading it, so...
reading can be hard. We both know that.
It's true. I had a hard time reading just recently.
Yeah. What was that again? Oh, it was the text on the game I made you play.
That's right. I was just stumbling over everything, and my eyes were tired, too. I'd worked for several hours before that, so...
Speaking of work, I am going back in for the first time since March tomorrow.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's going to be really weird wearing pants all day, I gotta say that.
Just don't do it. What are they going to do?
Yeah, what are they going to do? Fire me?
I mean, for real, what are they going to do?
I really don't know.
Time to test the boundaries of societal norms, man.
Right. Oh, how have you been?
I'm fine. I always wear pants. I wear pants every day. I love jeans. Jeans are my jam, and so I do everything but sleep in them. For some reason, once it's time for bed, jeans immediately become the most uncomfortable thing for me. But aside from that, I've been wearing pants. Tomorrow's my birthday.
Yeah. Happy early birthday, but I am going to tell you happy birthday in like an hour and a half, too.
Yep, 1.5 hours. I'll be 31.
It's quite an age. I gotta say, I am enjoying my 30s, to be honest with you.
So far, so good. Although I did a survey the other day, and it's like, pick your age group, and it was like 20s. I'm like, oh, no. Not that I haven't been 24 a whole year at this point, but at the same time, I was just like, I don't think I've taken a survey where I've had to literally say, nope, I'm in a different bracket now.
I mean, there's a couple of things about getting older that are kind of annoying. And one of them is how far you have to scroll down when you're selecting your age on one of those drop downs.
I hate that.
That's annoying. But I will say there are a lot of upsides. Like, it's nice to walk into a store and not like have every employee's eyes shift to you because they're pretty sure you're going to shoplift. Instead, they come up to you and they're like, "Hey, sir, how can I help you?"
I'm oblivious, or I've never seen threatening, so I've never noticed such a thing before.
I've definitely gotten that. Just kind of like more attention, or just total lack of attention because I walk into like a music shop and they're like, this guy's not buying anything, so they just won't even come talk to me.
See,
that's
that
annoying
I
too.
probably have experienced before because I probably look like a scruffy poor person because I am scruffy and I don't have a lot of money. So
yeah, well, same here. I was scruffy except for they've asked us all to shave before coming back into work. Because like if we have a task we have to do that requires us to be within 6 feet of each other, you know, I work in manufacturing, so they're requiring us to wear half-face respirators, and in order for those to be effective, you have to be clean-shaven. But it was kind of funny because Lauren gave me a haircut yesterday. Ooh. And I shaved, and last night we were laying in bed and I was tucking Luke in, and he just looks at me totally unprompted and goes, "Dada, you look hilarious."
Oh,
I was
adorable.
Like, "Thanks, kid. Thanks." I don't know if that was a compliment or not. I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
No, probably not. I didn't threaten, but like, I guess I threatened my wife. I threatened Rachel that I was going to, like buzz my head, and she gave me a look that I don't see that often. So I knew that wasn't a joke I'm allowed to make.
Do it. I did it back in January.
Well, then she said, well, maybe we'll hit your head with the 5 clippers because it's getting long. It's getting out of control. And combined with like the thinning and the balding, it just doesn't look good.
Just shave it, dude. Go Walter White, man.
And then I ran that by Juliet, and she was like, "No, Daddy, don't do that." Like, she became like upset because if she had her way, my hair would be, Samson long and down to my butt. But I'd have no beard. She doesn't like my beard. And it's the opposite with Rachel. She wants short hair and not a long beard, but she still wants a beard.
You can't serve 2 masters,
You can't.
I don't know who you go with on this one.
That is the age-old question.
Compromise. Do like a goatee and like shoulder length.
I feel like a compromise just ends with me having no hair at all.
Oh, I do got to say one thing. It was really funny in my haircut experience because we bought this barber chair back when we lived in Canada, like back in like 2014. And Lauren's cut my hair off and on for since 2014. So she's been doing it off and on for 6 years because the cheapest men's haircut I could find in Canada was $40. And I was like, no. I can buy clippers for $40. It's a one-time fee. And then I was like, hey, Lauren, can you watch some YouTube videos and learn how to cut my hair? And she did. So she has, like I said, off and on cut my hair. So I challenged her a little bit on this past one. I sat the barber chair up in the backyard, and Greg and Aaron got Luke, my son, a remote control Power Wheels for Christmas. So he can't reach the pedals, but he loves to sit in that car, and then you drive him like it's a remote control car.
That's awesome.
I'm sitting in the barber chair driving him around the backyard, and Toby's just chasing him, my dog Toby, and Lauren's cutting my hair. It's like the most ridiculous thing ever.
That's Americana right there.
Certainly.
All right. Well, we'll get into a little housekeeping. Actually start this episode. There isn't any. Just remember to subscribe, review, follow us on Twitter.
You're really bumping the Twitter. That's been your thing.
Twitter is the secret to success, my friend, and the not so secret to success. I feel like you just got to get people on there. So
that and YouTube.
Well, right, but Twitter will take them to YouTube. Is what I mean. YouTube is the content. Twitter is the promotion.
Follow us everywhere, guys. Mainly Twitter and YouTube. It's not that hard. Just go do it.
Yeah, don't give Gary Whitta your Twitch subscription. Don't give it to, some cool charity streamer. Give it to us. We're not streaming anything, but give us your Twitch.
I think you have to have a certain number of subs to be affiliate to be eligible.
It doesn't sound like a lot, though, because I'm not sure what the number is, but I don't think it's very high.
But we don't do anything on Twitter. It doesn't matter. Just go follow us.
Jason, do you have any shout-outs this week?
I have one shout-out. And it's to you, my friend. Shout out to Karch, because I was a slacker all week, and you basically did this whole doc by yourself, and I apologize. But I did add some stuff for context, but you put this whole thing together. So kudos to you, and happy birthday.
Thank you. It's literally the least I could do because I don't do anything else, especially on the audio technical side. So, but still, I appreciate it. All right, we've got one correction, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way so we can dive into the meaty stuff.
Okay, Greg, if you're listening, start corrections music now. Okay, so we had one correction this week, and it looks like you may have a retort here, but I'll just go ahead and read it. So Josh says that the turnip lady shows up at 5 a.m., and she's just wandering the island. Sorry, for context, you had to have listened to last week's episode, but it's in Animal Crossing. It's a whole thing, and a turnip lady comes, and she sells you turnips once a week. You mentioned the timing. You didn't like the timing. Josh is saying it actually sometimes happens earlier. So I don't know.
He's right. I didn't really think that through. The day doesn't start over at midnight. The game resets. It does. Technically, if I were to play in a midnight, it would be, May 13th. But, things that require a 24-hour cycle reset at 5 a.m. Eastern. And so that's when she would show up, because that's quote-unquote Sunday in game time. So he's right. I should just, get up, but I'm not gonna. That's never happening.
Okay, that's the only thing I think I had from last week, so go ahead and end corrections music, Greg.
Sweet. See, those corrections are getting thinner and thinner, mostly because I've stopped listening to the whole episode, so I don't find any, but,
I swear, I'm the only person on the planet that listens to the whole episode.
I used to.
No, that's not true. Josh and Sean, I think, do.
Well, right, the listeners, of course, listen to the whole episode.
Yeah, and we do, you know what, I should have given one more shout-out. Mars Menagerie followed us on YouTube. That's pretty cool.
That's true. That was a blast to have a real-life person have a joyful, fun experience, and we commented back and forth a couple times, so yes, thank you, Mars Menagerie.
A person that we haven't known for over a decade. We have to kind of preface.
It's a big win.
Right.
All right, let's jump into some news, because I started out this morning, and I thought it was going to be dry, and it still kind of is, but there were a couple, one specifically choice thing that happened, and that is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remake, baby. It's coming. That's right. Coming September 4th this year.
Insane
in the membrane. So,
break it down for us.
It's Vicarious Visions. If you don't know, they're owned by Activision, who also owns the Tony Hawk Pro Skater license. And they put out the 1 through 5 games and anything else that might have spawned from those. But they also, Vicarious Vision is also the developers in charge of the Crash Bandicoot remake, so the Insane Trilogy, which everybody loved. They did a ground up remaster. Remake. I mean, it's the same game. It's like, I'm not going to get into those semantics.
It's the same game, but they started from scratch.
Exactly. They didn't take the PS1 files and just like up-res them. They, of course, did everything from scratch, but to its truest form. And that seems to be, for the most part, what they're promising with this game, or these two games, rather, which Jason and I have very fond memories of, because obviously we were friends before we played this game, because otherwise he wouldn't have come over to play it. But I like to think that our friendship truly started laughing on the floor as we failed to do even the simplest of tricks on our N64.
It was amazing. This game holds so much nostalgia for me too, because so my dad married my stepmom in 2000, and this is the game that my stepmom got me as the groom's gift for being in their wedding. So it's that on top of our friendship, on top of it just being an incredible game. It's just this game is just amazing to me.
It's so good. So yeah, they're bringing back a lot of original music tracks, which is a huge deal, because anytime this comes up in a remake situation, there's always been two factors. Activision, up until very recently, didn't really do that kind of thing. They just, they were, always barreling ahead, trying to just become, trying just to be the Call of Duty machine that they are, rotating their 3 development studios, making sure they had their annual releases. But in the last couple of years, they've been digging deep into their other IP, Crash, Spyro, even Call of Duty itself. They're remaking some of the more popular versions, and now they're doing this. And then the other part was the music. Music is such a huge deal for this game, but it was all licensed tracks. And whatever they've done, they've finally, stepped up. And I wouldn't think all of the music's coming back, but definitely a lot of them are. You can go watch the announcement video and see a list of them. I don't have it here, or memorized or anything, but when you're playing the same level over and over again, and and those short tracks are going over and over again, it just becomes an enormously huge part of the identity of the game, in addition to, of course, the setting and the gameplay.
One thing that's interesting, and I think another developer did this, I don't think it was a remake, but I'm trying to remember how that story went. I'm going to butcher it, so I'll just kind of say the idea of it. But they made a Spotify playlist for their game, and then you could just go in and play that playlist, say on your PS4, open the Spotify app, put that in the background, and play, the game with the soundtrack that they wanted, even though they didn't license the music.
That's really smart.
I don't think Activision could get away with that, so they're probably going to be paying for the rights to the music for this. But that said, if you wanted some of the missing songs, I just searched, and there are some original soundtrack playlists on Spotify, so you could do that yourself if you wanted to. Kind of interesting.
Yeah. So,
another thing that I found interesting when I was digging into this, so Activision still owns the rights to like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater game and you know all that, but Tony Hawk owns his own rights to his own like image now. That deal expired with Activision in 2015, so that's why we got that really crappy mobile Tony Hawk Skate Jam in late 2018. But that said, I just thought it was interesting. I found a little anecdote. Activision actually offered Tony Hawk $500,000 in the 90s for all future rights to his images and games, and then he turned them down. And the article that I found said that as of 2015, that series had generated $1.4 billion in sales worldwide in its 16-year history of that deal. So I would say he probably made a good call there, turning that $500,000 offer down.
did he turn it down in place of a better deal?
I think he turned it down. I didn't give specifics, but if I had to guess based on my knowledge of Shark Tank, they will either give you a lump sum, a one-time lump sum, like a big sum of money, or you get like a percentage in perpetuity. My guess is he took a percentage in perpetuity.
Right. Otherwise, how would they have him for as long as they did?
Right.
So that makes because yeah, no. Otherwise, I mean, at least he wouldn't feel stupid for having taken the 500,000 when there was that much profit on the other side. But
right.
Anyway.
Well, and I guess that expired in 2015 anyway. So I do wonder how much if they had to pay Tony. I'm sure they had to pay Tony Hawk for this. If their deal expired for his likeness, I'm not really sure. But yeah. It is interesting.
I mean, I haven't kept up with the series at all. After 1 and some of 2, I pretty much dropped off caring about the series. I mean, I like it, and I'll very much be interested in picking this up on whatever platform it's available that I feel like playing it on. But yeah, I didn't play any of the skate games. I played none of the Thug games.
I played Underground 1 and 2. Yeah. I think it was on like the Xbox.
Those were the ones that had a bit of a, like almost like not an open world, but like a sandboxy, like run around and stuff.
You run around, talk to this guy. Oh, I want 3 signs. Go, ollie over these signs to collect them, bring them back to this guy, that sort of thing. Grand
Theft Auto skate version.
Right.
Cool. Well, yep. So everyone's real happy about that, us included. So that's soon, September 4th. We were just talking about Jason going back to work. I'll probably be back to work by then too, if all things go well with reopening and reintegrating. And so it seems far away, but it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, I think that's Labor Day weekend too, so that'll give me something to do.
That's true.
If there's no football season, at least I'll have Tony Hawk.
There you go. Less football, more video games.
Woo.
Speaking of football, not really, sort of. We'll get to it.
Good try on the transition, man.
I almost had it. Microsoft, last Thursday, they had their Inside Xbox, which is their digital presentation with various game partners and their own first-party stuff. They did one of these like a month or a month and a half ago, and we gave our impressions on it. This one was a bit of a kerfuffle as far as how it was received, and even just as we were watching it, it was not well received. And
Sean from Alaska writes, "Hey fellas, I've seen some articles coming out of the recent Inside Xbox, and aside from the actual quote-unquote no gameplay in a gameplay reveal criticism, I've also heard comments that the graphics don't look like a next-generation jump. What are your thoughts? Do you think this is the fault of mid-generation upgrades, developers hitting the graphical fidelity they want, or something else? Take care, Sean." So that's kind of a two-parter, but you alluded to the criticism that it received, so I thought it was timely for that question.
Well done. Yeah, but basically, so to roll it back a sec, Xbox promised that there would be next-gen gameplay, and they technically delivered on that promise because the video starts off, all images are optimized for Xbox Series X. Cool. Now, they promised all their games, especially, at least their first-party games would be available day and date on both the current hardware and the next-gen hardware. And it seems that most third-party developers are going to do a similar route, especially in these first couple of years before adoption really takes hold. And they're going to offer the free upgrade, so you don't have to buy the game twice again.
Smart delivery.
Smart delivery, that's what Xbox calls it. Don't know if PlayStation has something similar in place or mind. I'm sure they're going to have to, maybe not for their own games, but definitely for third-party software, because companies are not going to sell a second version on PS5 only, but not on Xbox Series X. That's just not happening.
No.
So yeah, we were promised next-gen gameplay, and we got that with the various, games that we have heard of and we haven't heard of. But going to Sean's point, or his question, about the graphics not looking like a next-generation jump, well, some of them definitely aren't, because they just aren't. Some of these games were developed completely in mind for current-gen hardware. Things like Yakuza 7, Bloodlines 2, Masquerade, or whatever that's called, the vampire game. Those have been in development for a while, and they'll be out soon, if not before. In fact, I know they're going to be out before next-gen stuff comes out. They'll just simply have that free upgrade. And now we're seeing what that upgrade looks like, but, they were held back by the fact they were developed around the time of, PS4 and Xbox One X. I don't know if they're going to get much better. I don't know,
I mean, I think some of these games, like you said, they were certainly developed on current gen hardware with that in mind, or at least that is kind of a limitation. Certainly we're not getting those jumps like we used to in older generations. It's more of a continuous spectrum. But what I will say is we've talked about this a little bit in the past episodes, but I think there are things that you and I aren't necessarily thinking of that will enhance a game and make it feel more real. I think physics engines are going to be a big part of that, but also in the same vein, lighting. So if you look at that game that they showed at the beginning, Bright and Infinite Memory, that game really, really showed off ray tracing.
It did.
In a way that, which is, it's kind of funny because they showed this here, and their ray tracing example in their previous Inside Xbox was like Minecraft or whatever, and you couldn't really tell a difference. But here, this Bright and Infinite Memory was the cinematic trailer that this event opened with. I think that is more of an indicator of the type and the caliber of thing you're going to see this generation versus some of these others that were certainly held back by being developed on current gen hardware. Because you got to think, how long have those dev kits even really been out in the wild in their final form? I would hesitate to say any of these games were developed knowing the full specifications of the Xbox Series X.
Yeah, agreed. And that brings me to what does a next-gen jump look like? People are getting more and more into PC gaming, and that's becoming it's just becoming a thing, especially with VR, where the most of, and definitely the best of VR is only on PC, and it's just getting more spotlight. And when you can, and when that happens, you see the best graphical hardware has to offer, and it's always going to pale in comparison to a static box that you can't modify and has the various limitations that it has, and
hence the mid generation upgrades.
Exactly, yeah. But you're right. Bright Infinite Memory looked really good. It was the first game they showed. It looked, generic's a mean word, sounds mean, but it did look a little generic. But it also looked really cool. It was very interesting gameplay.
The gameplay kind of reminded me of like Call of Duty meets Dishonored. In a way, because you did have that like gritty, grounded, realistic. There wasn't like magic and stuff, but you were like jumping and grabbing people from behind and throwing them down. It was just like there was more melee than most first-person shooters have.
Yeah, for sure. There was a sword at one point. There was a grappling hook. There was a car that I swear I'd have to go back and look. I only watched the video once, but it looked straight up like a DeLorean. The only thing I didn't see was the door pop open upward instead of sideways. Brown. Exactly. He didn't come out. But that and then Scorn looked really good.
That's definitely up your alley.
No,
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Dude, I don't want anything to do with that. So it brings me to another point, or another impression on the...
But they had weird little... Oh, wait, no, it wasn't Scorn. I apologize. That Scorn wasn't the one I was thinking for you.
Which one?
The one with the flower. Yeah, the Scarlet Nexus was the one with the weird little flower monsters.
Oh, the Japanese one. See, I don't want anything to do with that one. Why was this Inside Xbox so creepy? Like, everything was so creepy.
Yeah, you said that to me before. Some of them were, but I don't know. I was fine with it overall.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the one we were just talking about, Bright Infinite Memory, wasn't creepy, but it was definitely intense. It's
It was dark.
It's raining. Yeah. Like, this main character sounded like a woman. She definitely seemed to be on the run, and obviously fighting for her life. She's shooting people or robots or something. And then you get Scorn, which was just this nightmare fuel looking thing. I got these really strong, like, Alien versus Predator vibes with these pods and these creepy...
They were like 3D printing aliens, like, in Westworld, and it looked like that room from The Matrix where Neo was reborn in the real world.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
And then there was the vampire one, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. That is its full name.
Which I'm in for, man.
But like, you've got, like... It opens up, and it's campy and goofing. Vampires, of course, are terrible, evil beings in most depictions. And, of course, these definitely are, because you've got this family hanging from their living room ceiling with their mouths cut Joker style, but way more around a Christmas, tree present setting. It's just, no thank you. And then, lastly, The Ascent, which was probably the most creepy, yet least disgusting. It was definitely more psychological than any of the other ones, but it was also... I'm sorry, not The Ascent. The Medium, that's what it was. Some pregnant woman, and then she's at church, and then she's holding her stomach, and there's blood, but there's also no, I don't want any of that.
Yeah, that game is going to be sad. It began with like a sonogram and a crying woman in a graveyard in a church, and then I think it definitely said it was a psychological horror game, like after the trailer with the interview. But the cool thing is they are working with the Silent Hills composer, which I thought was neat.
Which is interesting because I got a huge Silent Hills vibe from it before they announced that tidbit.
I did too. So I was thinking like PT in my head. Yeah,
if you guys like that kind of game, then we might be getting a cool fix. I will say that one looked really good, like graphically. So again, coming back to Sean's question, I think, and to anybody who's having kind of like a little fit about, this doesn't look next gen, I'm like, first of all, shut up.
Yeah, shut up, Sean. Shut up.
not Sean. To the haters. Sean's not a hater.
Oh, the haters now. Okay.
To the haters, like what are you gonna do? You're gonna stop gaming? You're gonna go buy yourself a $2,000 graphics card? Because PC's better in a lot of ways, but like it's also prohibitively expensive if you're going to just jump into it. And console gaming is just getting cheaper and cheaper, for the most part. I mean, I know these boxes might end up being like $500, but still.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to spend at least $900 on a system that would probably play games about as well as a PS5 right now. And that doesn't include like a monitor or like a headset or a mouse and a keyboard or a controller. You know what I mean? So, yep. I mean, and I'm saying this as a guy who games primarily on a PC, but there are pros and cons to the platforms for sure. And I think you could save on the back end with a lot of more gaming sales and stuff, but we've seen over this past generation that they've been pretty generous with sales on their own stores as well. And you have things like Game Pass and PlayStation Now. So, it's probably a wash. It's probably like, where do you want to be? Where are your friends mostly?
Yeah.
If you were to average out the cost over the span of, say, 5 years or whatever.
Agreed. So I think the thing people were most upset about was definitely the way they ended it, and that was on some promised Assassin's Creed Valhalla world premiere gameplay.
They hyped it up too.
They did. Both Microsoft and Ubisoft, they made a goof, and they showed like a minute-long video that I honestly wouldn't call gameplay. I mean, they might technically have used an in-engine footage.
I think that's what they did.
But like at no point would I have called anything that they showed off as gameplay.
This is what happens when you have just like a marketing major who doesn't game plan an event. Because I just don't think anybody who understands gamers would have made that misstep. Maybe not. But personally, I don't care.
Me neither.
Because I'm looking at it objectively and being like, okay, well, you said one thing, I saw what it was, it's whatever. I don't care. I'm either going to play the game or I'm not going to play the game. But gamers are just so easily enraged. I feel like this is not. You don't want to poke the bear.
You do, in one sense. Gamers need to get over themselves when something doesn't go their way. But you're at the same time, it's like you are just going to antagonize. You are not going to spread any goodwill. It was just a worse trailer than the one you already showed. Now, next week, I think, or maybe even later this week, Ubisoft is going to show more. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not next week. This is a July thing. In July, they're going to show off a bunch of their games, basically have their own, personal, what would have been E3 press conference thing. And then maybe by then we'll finally have seen or see there some Assassin's Creed gameplay. But unfortunately, I think what this really speaks to is they don't have anything interesting to show. Not that they don't have gameplay to show, because the game's supposedly coming out in October, right? Or
this fall.
Holiday, that's what it is. But unless they've completely revamped it, like I'm hoping they do, it's just going to be more Assassin's Creed Odyssey, with Viking stuff.
Well, they did promise kind of a more concise, smaller experience, which I'm excited about.
Me too, and hopefully that translates into, okay, we were able to spend more time on gameplay. Combat specifically. Not gameplay in general, but combat specifically is what I'm talking about. Which is what I think really what everyone else means when they say gameplay. They want to see what those, micro moment-to-moment mechanics exactly are going to look like when you're taking a guy down, when you're, doing regular combat with like axes and swords and stuff. But it was disappointing. Like, it was so confusing. I didn't watch it live, but I did, just a couple hours later. And when they showed that quote-unquote gameplay trailer, I literally thought, oh, they must mean it's a different video after this one. And I went and Googled, oh, wait, no, that was it, because everybody was really mad about it.
Right, yeah.
So, it was
misstep. It happens.
A poopy way to end what was already a fairly uninspired thing.
Milk toast,
pretty much. Like,
it's a new word for you.
I know you were down on the previous Inside Xbox, so like there was nothing there for you. I found that one way better. Like, I thought that both the way they presented things, Phil Spencer was there. Where's friend of the show, Phil Spencer, It was just some guy who was head of, what was it? He was, he's big in the company. He wasn't like, just
I don't care who he is, because he still doesn't have sound treatment in his room.
Oh, shut up.
Everybody's like, it's the Xbox! I don't know. It's really hard to listen to. I couldn't even appropriately recreate the drywall echo that I was hearing. Because I have sound treatment.
You have a sickness, and it's not your fault, but it is your problem. And that you can't listen to these kinds of things without talking about
They just need to hire Rich Brother Greg to fix their gaming headset audio, because you're recording in an open room in a normal house with no sound treatment on a relatively inexpensive gaming headset, and our audio sounds way better than theirs did. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's because they're probably just using No, they had headsets on. Some of them had headsets
on. They had headsets on. The guy you're talking about had a headset on, because I made note of that. I this oh, hey.
No, you're absolutely
maybe this
right.
Will be...
There's no excuse. I just don't care.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, I don't care either, but this is like this is like a top, like a Fortune 20 company. Oh, it just drives me crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let's move on.
No, it's all right. I am excited for Yakuza 7. But I mentioned that when Jason played Yakuza last time, so...
I hate Yakuza, and I'm never playing Yakuza 7. And I'll be honest with you, from the trailer that I saw, the combat looks no different at all. But I'm sure like the way that you initiate those attacks may be different, but it looked no different at all.
I was confused about that, because the game's out. The game's been out in Japan since January, because they still do that thing where they're just like, we'll give it to Japan right away. And
cool, give it to Japan and then ship it to the US with Japanese and English subtitles. Like, what are you doing for localization?
That's it. That's exactly what they're doing. Anyway, so kind of a disappointing implies that I was excited in the first place and I wasn't. So it's like my expectations were already checked at the door. But whatever.
And they still disappointed.
All right. On the other side of the fence, PlayStation is making no moves and still is yet to display and reveal anything of interest in regards to its games and
How
console.
can you say that? Because we got a major reveal today about PlayStation.
We did?
Yes, we did.
What was it, Jason?
Christopher Dring over at GameIndustries.biz let us know that PlayStation Studios brand will launch alongside PS5. Quote, the PlayStation Studios brand will go live in PlayStation 4 and 5 games later this year and will only be featured on games developed and managed by Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide's studio organization, end quote. So I did a little digging on this because it was so confusing and I don't want to bore everybody, but there is this tiered, like 3 tiers deep reporting structure for Sony. So Sony is the parent company and they're the umbrella for everything. The TVs, the laptops, the phones, Vio, everything that Sony makes. So that's the parent company. Under that is Sony Interactive Entertainment. And that is digital entertainment. So I think my understanding is it's like digital animation and also would encompass gaming. And that was formatted in like 2016 from both the Sony Interactive Entertainment and US and Japan companies. The Japan one was founded as Sony Computer Entertainment. So they basically just wadded all that up into one big SIE, Sony Entertainment Interactive. Under them is a company called Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios. They manage all of the game developers. So all of Sony's studios like Sucker Punch, Sony Bend, Guerrilla, and even Naughty Dog, they all report up through Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide. And so basically what all of this means is that any game in PlayStation 5 in the PlayStation 5 era that's developed by any of Sony Studios is going to be branded as quote unquote PlayStation Studios, which I find really interesting, and I think it's honestly not a terrible idea. What do you think about it, Karch?
Well, I mean, I can't imagine anybody who thinks it's a terrible idea, but this is as dry as it gets as far as the everyman. Like, people just know PlayStation, and they may or may not know that PlayStation owns certain, game studios and, has a certain set of IP under their umbrella. Because for the most part, this is just corporate gobbledygook that corporate people eat up. But it has...
No, see, I thought that too. I really did. But think about it. Exactly what you said. Every man knows what PlayStation is. Every man knows that PlayStation is associated with gaming. And for once, they're actually using this correctly. So, like, back when they were like, oh, PlayStation's a well-recognized name. It's got name recognition. Let's create a streaming service and call it PlayStation View instead of like Sony View. And that was their YouTube TV competitor or whatever. Actually, I think it came out before YouTube TV. It was like their Sling competitor. But nobody knew what it was because they thought you had to own a PlayStation in order to utilize the service. Like, everybody thought that. Nobody understood that it was its own separate entity. Well, here, for once, they're actually attaching that PlayStation name to something that it's connected to, their games.
But that doesn't mean that they won't make the same mistake again and call the next dumb service and add the PlayStation brand, because it, like...
Well, no, you're right, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, let's flash forward. Like, nobody knows who Sucker Punch is, but when they're marketing Ghost of Tsushima made by Sucker Punch, people are like, "Oh, cool. I don't know, whatever."
Yeah, in what world are they marketing? They don't not tell people that PlayStation. So they just have a new. It's just a new name. That's all it is. It
is. It's just a new name.
And it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. And the logo that they have, which we'll talk about here in a sec, is fine. It just seems it just smacks of pretentious corporate stuff that someone came up with to really impress their boss.
Oh, someone's getting a promotion off this for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But yeah, they released a video of it. I saw it this morning, the YouTube notification. I just swiped left and said, no thanks. I'll watch that later. And I saw a thread on it, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll watch it now. It's like a minute long, and basically it's the fairly classic, as we've come to know it, the P kind of merging with the S, where one, like, they're almost like perpendicular to each other, except it's very shiny and dark and bluish. And as it zooms in across each letter and each part of the letter, you see their most famous IP reflected in it. So Kratos was in there, and Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank are in there, and I'm sure a bunch. Nathan Drake was in there too. It's very Marvel Cinematic Universe the way they do their thing, especially after they rebranded as Marvel. What do they call it? They used to be Marvel, now they call themselves Marvel. What is it? Marvel Studios?
Oh, I actually don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, at some point they did it very similar things like, oh, we want to make sure that people understand that this is the Marvel movie. And again, it's like, I don't care. I mean, I do because I'm interested, but at the same point, I don't. And if I don't, then there's like an enormous percentage of people under me. Not under me, but
under me, inferior people.
I'm the best. But, who just don't care or know or whatever. But there was a confusing part where they, in the article, they mentioned that the PlayStation Studios branding won't be ready in time for the launch of The Last of Us Part 2 or Ghosts of Tsushima.
That drove me crazy. I was like, what do you mean it's not ready? You got the intro graphic, you've got the name. What else do you need?
Apparently it's too much work to patch in before those games go live in more than a month.
It almost makes me wonder if Naughty Dog pushed back and was like, no. This is The Last of Us Part 2. We're Naughty Dog. You're gonna give us this recognition before we start becoming PlayStation Studios.
This is like your whole pants conversation. What are they gonna do? What's Naughty Dog gonna do? They're gonna do nothing. They're owned wholly and completely by them.
Did we leave the pants conversation in here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
It was in the banter.
Right. The banter, of course.
The banter.
We actually script all that.
Don't tell our secrets. But yeah, it's a bizarre thing. My only assuming that it's not hard to just kind of squeeze it in there. Again, given that they have a month minimum for Last of Us 2 and even more time for Ghost of Tsushima.
Well, they've gone gold. Maybe they already printed the discs with the wrong thing.
But that's what day one patches are for.
Oh, good point. I forgot about patches.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but
I don't care.
Aside from that, maybe what they showed us was not the final product, and there's potentially some fine tuning. I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah. All right. So next news is not news at all, but I felt like talking about it because I want to rag on Bethesda here. Joe Screbbles over at IGN reports the Elder Scrolls 6 next news will likely be years from now. Years from now being in quotes. Sorry, Jason. It's not coming anytime soon.
I'm just going to leave and grieve while you go through this.
Okay. It's not really news, but we got to be upset about something, right?
I don't know anything we're happy about.
I'm happy about everything. I'm happy about this podcast. I was so excited to do it today.
That's a good point.
It felt like we hadn't done it in 2 weeks, even though we did it last week.
True.
It was weird. But yeah.
Start doing more often.
Apparently there was a tweet. I don't know how recent it was, but I think that's what sparked this quote-unquote article. Because obviously it's a real article, but at the same time, what's the point? From Pete Hines, who's head of marketing. He's VP of marketing and a couple other things over at Bethesda. It says, in response to somebody asking about when Elder Scrolls 6 is coming, it's after after Starfield, which you pretty much know nothing about. So if you're coming at me for details now and not years from now, I'm failing to properly manage your expectations, end quote. At which point I ask, why did you bring a trailer to E3 2 years ago about a game that you were not ready to release for another 10? That's your fault. You did that.
But that wasn't a trailer. It was literally a logo. It was a black screen with a logo.
You said it. Don't poke the bear. This is the biggest poke you could have given by giving any indication that it was coming anytime soon.
No, and I get that, but they were trying to offset the other rage that they incited by releasing Fallout 76.
Which they still haven't recovered from.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just dumb. It's dumb that people think it's coming soon, because you're right. Anybody who's been paying attention should understand that it's nowhere near coming anytime soon. Literally going to be 15 years between these two games, Skyrim and Elder Scrolls 6, which is crazy to think about. But that's what it's going to be, because I think they realize at this point that they can't release it and expect... and they've already made this decision at this point, but they can't release it in this time frame where people are kind of down on Bethesda and the way they've been doing things. They need a lot of breathing room between all of the bad press and all of the Skyrim remake, or excuse me, Skyrim ports. before they come out with the next entry.
Do you think that's why they're holding off? Because, I mean...
not exactly. They clearly have the Starfield project, and it sounds like that's important to them. So they're probably using the team they would normally use for their other important games. And I think that's the main reason.
That's what I thought, too.
But they're willing to do all of these things and not sweat it because they know they know Elder Scrolls is important, but they're willing to lock it away in the vault for a little while, let it simmer, make people miss it again, so that, much like how it's funny, like Oblivion came out, and you would think that the Elder Scrolls series had been dormant for like 10 years when Oblivion came out, but it had only been like 5 since Morrowind, maybe even less. Yeah, maybe even 4 years. So I don't know. Screw you, Bethesda.
This doesn't bother me at all. It really doesn't. I'm fine with them letting fans know, hey, the thing you want is coming. It's going to be a while. Because they did say that in that event. They were like, it's going to be a while.
I don't know, man. This is what Square does and has done for the last 20 years, and I can't stand it. Not that I care about Elder Scrolls 6 or fall for the hype, and yet I can't help but think about something that you've talked about. Like, if you just never said it existed, I can't know it exists even as a concept, and I can't wonder where it is, and then a more, angry person gets actually angry about it, like, just don't talk about it.
It is interesting to see the dichotomy between this and when they announced Fallout 4. Because that was totally polar opposite, and I was really hoping that was going to be more of the way people went. Like, not just Bethesda, but other developers as well.
Yeah.
But, alas, here we are.
Okay. Well,
but you know what might be coming soon, Karch?
One of the greatest games of all time.
Maybe. So, Jordy McGregor over at PC Gamer says that we might be getting a Diablo 2 remaster after all this year. And my interest is peaked.
Super peaked.
I'm so peaked right now.
Yep.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of weak in terms of like the source for this. It's like this could be true, this could not be true. I have no idea.
Which part? The fact that it exists or that it's coming this year?
Both, really.
But
it's just a rumor.
Right. You're not wrong. And yeah, I normally wouldn't want to quote unquote report on a rumor. I wouldn't waste my time talking about it, but A, I love Diablo 2 so much.
Yeah.
And B, they remastered both StarCraft and Warcraft 3 at this point. It would be ridiculous to assume they were just going to leave Diablo in the dust. Like, what is the point of that? Why bother not doing it? Because at this point, you are losing, unless the metrics they get back from the Warcraft 3 thing are so bad they don't want to risk it.
Well, and that's the thing. I've heard the Warcraft 3, the reception wasn't great, and I didn't see specifics on why.
It didn't look as good as they showed. It was one of those bait and switch trailers. Like, it looked a lot less remastered once they finally got their hands on it, and there were a lot of network issues at the very beginning. I never saw another article about it, for better or for worse. So I don't know.
That's Blizzard's MO. I mean, go look at the D3 launch.
No, for sure. I mean, it's nothing new. But Diablo 2, all they have to do is just make it run. They don't even have to make it pretty. They just have to make it fit in a resolution that isn't the size of a postage stamp.
Right.
And then they need to make single player and online exactly as they used to be. And then finally, and this will just, goes without saying, it'll be playable on pretty much every computer that you'll have for the next 30 years.
Right. And it would be nice if they did the whole little graphic toggle thing where you could go like old school graphics and then remaster graphics.
That would be fun, just for, to do whatever.
Because they did that for StarCraft.
Did they?
Yeah.
I never checked it out. I love StarCraft, but I never checked it out.
You should. We should. Oh my gosh. Me, you, Sean, Robert, anyone else who wants to join. StarCraft Remastered.
Dude, you don't like those games.
I don't care. I don't care if I like them or not. It's not about me liking it. It's about me spending time with my friends.
Aw, that's so touching.
Yeah.
So that wraps up news.
That's why I played D&D with you.
Speaking of...
Which I suck at.
You do suck.
Oh my
But Jason,
gosh.
tell us about the Dungeons and Dragons you played. We went analog, ladies and gentlemen, although we did play using digital, tools to
we
connect.
played Roll20.
Mm-hmm. Which has been around for a while and I've never used before.
Honestly, here's the thing. Even if I was sitting in the same room with all of you, I would have wanted to play on Roll20 anyway. It's just easier.
Yeah, I would definitely have wanted to have it up still.
Because it was really cool that you had the video chatting, you had the audio chatting, and then in addition, the Dungeon Master could build maps within Roll20, which Sean did, which was awesome. And then you can move your little token and you can see where the enemies are. And so essentially imagine digital graph paper and every square is 5 feet. And then you have your speeds, like my character speed, I'm slow, I'm a dwarf, it's 20. So I can move every square is 5 square feet. So I can move 4, in any direction. And of course you have the people like Aaron and Sean who know everything there is to know about Dungeons and Dragons, and they told me that 2 diagonal moves is actually 15 square feet.
Wow, Jason, thank you so much for that really in-depth tutorial on D&D movement mechanics.
Right. I mean, you got to know that if you're going to play.
It's true.
There's also a way to digitally roll dice so no one can cheat, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is like you have to memorize an entire book to be able to play this game.
You just have to have one person there who's memorized the entire book, which is the DM's
luckily
job.
we had 2 people,
and I know like good. Half of it. I don't know everything, but I know like half of it.
Yeah, so like between Sean knowing everything, Aaron knowing everything, you knowing half of it, and Robert and I getting drunk, I'd say it was a good time overall. Like I'm totally looking forward to our next session. I just need to kind of go in and restructure my character a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll make you better.
And aside from that, I really didn't play much this week. I did like 1 Rocket League session, and 1 Call of Duty Warzone session, and I officially quit that game and deleted it.
Good for you.
It's just hard. Like we've gotten to the point in that game. I think it's been out for a few months now. Everybody's so good that it's not fun to play, and so I don't know if that's more indicative of their matchmaking or what. I mean, I'm sure matchmaking is hard when you're talking about like 50 plus people. You can't match everyone's skill level up, but it's getting to the point where as soon as I touch the ground, I'm dead. So that's the point at which I quit those games.
It's so funny. People bring up that argument for why they can't just jump into a multiplayer game. And maybe it's unique to Battle Royale because I hear it the most because, it's a popular genre. Fortnite's a popular game. Games like it are very popular, etc. But like I have never once had a problem, even in more team-oriented stuff like Overwatch. Like I got Overwatch at launch, but that didn't matter because I'm terrible at games like Overwatch. I had a lot of fun with it, and I feel like the matchmaking was really good. But then I dropped off, and I came back months or maybe even a year later, and it knew that. Like they could tell, based on the stats and the metrics and how well I was doing in my placement matches. And I always felt like I never felt like I was getting my butt kicked. Same thing goes with, and I imagine it's easier in fighting games and like things like Magic the Gathering where it's just a one-on-one experience. But I don't have this problem that everyone always talks about. I'm not good at these
real.
games.
I think it's the more people in the game. So when you talk about, what's the mode where you're on team deathmatch and you have like, I feel like if you get above like 20 people in a game, you're going to have this problem.
And that makes sense because I think, like I said, I asked and probably answered my own question where it seems to be unique or exacerbated by battle royales and the size of players in any given game.
Well, I will say this. I remember Kane, Greg, and I played Fortnite the first weekend it was in existence. And we had such a blast with that game because everybody sucked. No one knew what was going on. Nobody knew how to min-max everything. Nobody knew what loadouts to go after, how to build stuff, And then I think I just didn't play it again for, 6 months, and I came back to it and I was like, wow, this has changed drastically. It was insane. I couldn't play it. And then I remember when it released on the Switch and you could opt to like not play with cross-platform or whatever. Mm-hmm. I was good again all of a sudden because you had this whole new batch of people who sucked. So I don't know. I think they have since gotten a little bit better at matchmaking in Fortnite, but definitely Call of Duty was tough.
And that makes sense considering that it has a built-in fan base of really good, or rather, really consistent players, and then probably some really good ones too. Who, the worst Call of Duty players are probably better than a lot of other, shooters that have multiplayer components.
Well, and not to mention the mechanics are identical.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've played the latest Call of Duty, then you're gonna hop in and be great at this.
Makes sense.
What about you, Karch? What have you been playing, man?
Oh, I played a lot, actually. A little bit. I played a lot of titles.
You played a lot. You played a little bit of a lot.
A little bit of a lot. Dabbled, this and that. So I played D&D on Saturday, and that was great. And we're going to do that every 2 weeks, so we might carve out some time on the podcast after that to go over that. Maybe not. We'll see. But I lost last week's bet, and I had to play Wizard of Legend, which is on a Finally Plays up on YouTube. So if you want to see that, it's about 18 minutes long. Go ahead, check out that footage. And it's, it's pretty much, it's not super entertaining, but it is very informative and gives you a really decent idea of what the game is like. I liked it a lot. So Wizard of Legend is a pixely, top-down roguelike, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. Roguelike only in the sense that every time you initiate, a session, the map is, partially randomized, as are the bosses and enemy placements and all those kinds of things. But, everything starts to run together eventually to the point where none of it's truly random except for certain items and spells that are available to you when you go into each match. And there is some minor progression that's held over. So you are the Wizard of Legend. I don't know. I skipped through the story, which is something I don't usually do, but I was trying to get through it. And,
I liked it.
Yeah. And so you can start each session with 4 different spells. One is basically just your free spell that just you can fire off constantly. It's basically like the equivalent of just a free sword attack or punch. Sometimes the spell is literally, a giant fist. And then you get another one. You get 2 more, which are both on cooldowns, and they're slightly better, and as a result are on the cooldown. And then finally you get an ultimate one, which you can use anytime. It has the longest cooldown, but if you get your combo meter up, because this game's all about fast, constant combat, kill this enemy, bounce off to that one, etc. If you build a combo meter all the way up, I don't remember what they called it, but you'll be able to use your ultimate, and this time it'll be way better. So a fireball will fire off 4 fireballs instead of just one giant one, and it'll do lots of crazy damage. And then so you get this currency as you play called Chaos Gems, and you spend those Chaos Gems on items that increase your stats permanently, as long as you have them equipped, and you can spend them on new types of spells. The spells all have different elements. The enemies are weak and strong against different elements. And it's just basically the kind of game where you find a playstyle you like, and you stick to that, and then you just get better and better at reading the enemy attack patterns and dodging stuff and moving your way through it. So if you like games like that, which there's, they're kind of a dime a dozen, but this is a really well-polished one, check it out. It's on Game Pass. It's pretty cheap on non-Game Pass platforms. I was gonna get it on Switch eventually. It was on my wish list, and I think it was only ever $15 or $20, way less when it was on sale. But yeah, it was fast-paced, but not too fast. Wasn't too hard. I mean, I didn't do great, but I wasn't trying super hard either. I was just kind of trying to brute force my way through, which is obviously not what they wanted me to do, and so of course I died. But I liked it a lot, and I'll probably play it again a couple more times before I put it away forever.
Yeah, I mean, I watched where I edited that Finally Plays, and it made me kind of want to check it out. But then you recommended maybe Children of Morta over this one, so I might do if Children of Morta's on one of these subscription services, I might do a Finally Plays on that so people can compare them. But I thought this game looked pretty neat. When you initially were going through, I was like, oh man, this game is boring. And you even said that in your video. You're like, I hope this gets more fun. And it definitely did. By your 3rd run, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is really cool.
Yeah. And yeah, you bring up Children of Morta. Unfortunately, I did play that during, since we started the podcast. I just kept putting off talking about it, and then I haven't played it in so long I don't really remember too much about it. But Children of Morta is a very similar game that focuses a lot more on the progression side. Each map and, I keep saying session. I want to use a different word. I'm not sure which one it is, but every adventure, again, the maps are randomized.
I call it a run.
A run. Thank you. That is the word I was looking for. So each run, the maps are randomized to a degree. Same thing with enemy. There are certain things you can pick up only in the map, in the run, that get discarded afterward. But there's a lot of, there's leveling and there's skill trees and stuff. And it's got a really cute story. So again, if you like games like this, I would definitely recommend it. It is also on Game Pass. So both these games are on Game Pass. Both these games are on Switch. For you, since we share a Switch library, I bought it on the Switch so you can play it there. If you don't want to end up doing a video,
then I can't film it.
I know, and you're all about that content. So,
oh yeah.
All right.
What else you got, Mr. Karch?
I played some more Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm real close. I've got the day off tomorrow because it's my birthday, and I'm gonna finish it. I can't imagine I have more than like 2 hours. It's not going to be my game of the year. The pacing is just too jarring. And I think this is a downside only someone who has played the original can experience. Not to say that you will experience this if you've played the original, but it is affecting me negatively. In the beginning, I was riding so high, and not just from the demo stuff, but from, a few hours after the demo. And I mentioned this a week or two ago. Once you meet Aerith, and just a little bit before that, things start to drag, and you can start to see where they're padding the game because they want it to be a certain length. But again, they picked a very certain spot to end it. Now they're starting to do some really weird story stuff. They're not changing anything technically, but they are at the same time. And I'm not going to get into what that is because I haven't finished it yet, so I'll wait to really form my opinion on whether that's a good or bad thing. But it's very meta. The game knows that you've played this story before, and I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
Are we going to do a spoiler cast for this?
We will. We will do a spoiler segment or a spoiler cast, and I'll just talk about it and vent on it.
And I will just prompt with questions.
Yeah. And but I think at first I thought you should play this game, but you probably wouldn't because it's too long, and I understood that. And now I just don't think you should.
So I should just play the original.
Yes, because you could beat the entire original in the same amount of time it takes, or probably less than it's taken me to beat this one.
That's insane to me. And then I've heard that this past week, Square devs are talking about how they haven't even really decided what they're going to do for the next installment of this. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've read those too. And between reading those and playing this, I'm actually more worried now about the rest of the series than I was before it launched. So they announced the game 5 years ago, and you're like, okay, well, whatever. That's cool, but we're never going to see it. And then it became a reality. And you're like, it's probably still going to suck. And then you saw the demo, and then you play the demo, and you were like, wow, they did it. And they did. And yet the structure started, I don't see how you do this without ruining it or making it 10 games, which is impossible. So the only recourse seems to be ruin it. And it's really unfortunate. Or just don't. Just let this be a thing. They're not going to do that, but just let this be a standalone game.
But I guarantee it ends on a cliffhanger. But we'll talk about the story stuff, and right. There are a lot of things I do like about it, and I'll talk about that more during the spoiler cast. I'm getting a little better at the combat. That's a huge part of my hang up. Some fights are amazing, and it feels so good, and it doesn't feel unfair. It doesn't feel too easy, and sometimes a random, quote unquote random encounter just takes too long. They have this system. You'll remember they have the stagger gauge, and you had to beat on them in a certain way. They throw that out the window every chance they get. Oh yeah, but this enemy doesn't work like that. But this enemy doesn't work like that. And or they'll throw you oh, now you have to play as Tifa. You don't have fire magic on Tifa? Sucks to be you, man. You better die and restart and change the loadout before the battle. And it's because you can't even brute force your way through it without wasting 45 minutes. And who's going to do that? I might as well just kill myself and then restart the battle. And it's just these little things like that when try to like get too cute with like weaknesses and stuff, or they just completely invalidate the entire thing that it's built around, which is the ability to like, stun the enemy and do a bunch of damage at once. Like, what's the point of that? I don't get it. And so I get salty, and then then the next hour I'm kind of just in a bad mood while I'm playing, and then something cool happens, and I'm like, man, I love Final Fantasy VII.
That's why I'm so interested to see how you end on this, because yeah.
I think it's going to be just pretty like, and this is probably for the best. I'll probably be like, it was fine. I'll play the next one, but I'm in no rush,
In 5 years. Well, it's a good thing you're not in a rush, because it's probably not coming anytime soon.
Yep. Agreed.
What else you been playing?
I am trying to finally finish Fire Emblem Three Houses. And I'm real close, I think. I don't think there's too many more chapters, but man, these chapters, which are like, the levels when you go into combat, are really long. And I don't know why people say normal is easy, because you see that a lot, especially in the Fire Emblem fan circles, but it's not easy for me. I don't know if I'm playing wrong. Maybe I'm just finally getting bad at Fire Emblem, but I used to be good at it, and I'm still like struggling. I'm not like losing. I'm not like restarting the maps, because I have those, like rewind time abilities that came with this, the previous game that they pulled into this one as well. But I've been using them liberally, and like, if I'm not planning my steps just so, I'm going to be losing the enemy, units left and right, and I'm not playing on casual, so they'll be dead forever.
I feel like there was a major uptick in difficulty between Awakening and like Birthright. What was that whole package called?
Fates,
yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like there was a major bump in difficulty.
I think you're right. Awakening was on the easier side. When people were saying that, I understood what they were saying. That wasn't part of it. Was the AI / map design. The maps were very simple. It was just a field.
They were very small too.
It is small and simple. There was no complexity to them. They brought map complexity back in Fates, and they've done a pretty decent job of it in this one. They're still nowhere near where they used to be in the GBA versions and some of the SNES ones. But it's not easy. Like I am in the end, to be fair, and I didn't like recruit every last character, so I don't necessarily have my pick of the litter when it comes to like being able to have like any class and bring, maybe one map is good with mages, so I bring more than usual. I'm only going to have as many mages as I have. I can't just like pull more out of a hat. So, the story is confusing. Like it's simple, but at the same time, I also have no idea what's going on. And I think it's because I picked the Black Eagles. So if you're playing for the first time, I know, Sean, you said you were interested in maybe picking it up. I would go with the Blue Lions or the Golden Deer first. I think their stories are a bit more straightforward and inform on the Black Eagles a bit better, because the Black Eagles kind of do something you don't usually do in a Fire Emblem game. But I won't spoil that. So,
or just go play Fire Emblem Awakening,
or
even better, maybe not even better, but in the same vein, you could go play Into the Breach, which is an indie game, maybe more similar to Advance Wars, but it does have like that kind of smaller map thing going on, and it is grid-based, turn-based. So
yeah, no, I've had that on my radar for a long time, and for some reason I just never pulled the trigger on it. But
same here, and it's been on some of these streaming services that I've been subscribed to. It might be on Game Pass.
I think you're right, actually. Maybe we'll check it out. All right. So, Jason, you didn't play much last week or the week before, or really all this year.
Yeah.
You have committed the crime of being a bad gamer.
I'm a terrible gamer.
So we're going to spend the next few minutes going through some great games that you've either played some of or even a lot of, but not finished. And since we got lots of time between The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, we're going to pick one, and you're going to do your very best to stick with it and finish it.
Okay, I'm in.
So we got a few candidates here. I'll list the candidates, and then we'll go through them, the pros of why you might want to play this. So first up is Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a PlayStation 4 exclusive, although it's coming to PC soonish, but not soon enough. We have Batman Arkham Asylum, which is on PC. Thanks to Epic Game Store, you can finally play it. We've got Half-Life Alyx, which of course is also technically on PC, but is a VR game, so that's a totally different ball of wax.
But I already have it.
Yes, but you already have it, exactly.
Yep.
You have all these games except Horizon.
Which I used to have.
Which you used to have. And then finally, we have God of War 2018. So, we'll start with Horizon. Horizon Zero Dawn. 2017 game. It's pretty easy. It's a great narrative that doesn't interrupt the great gameplay. It's fairly short, especially on the critical path. Like, I did a decent amount of side quests, especially early on, because as I always do in just about any game. But once the story really starts rolling, and like I had no desire to do the side quests because they're not that great. No. It's really just, not fetch quest. There's no such thing as a fetch quest, but it's just, it gives you another opportunity to go hunt monsters or, just play the game. But the story is in the main game. It is not in the side quest. This is not The Witcher 3. And so it really just kind of feels like a waste of time. And I played on normal, and I wasn't like missing out on anything. And like most open world, games, there are like specific side quests, but then there's also stuff that you can just get distracted by and go do, like, take down this outpost or something, and it kind of fills the same niche. So if you do get that like kind of itch, you can go scratch it by doing one of those. But it's a really good game, and it's definitely going to get a sequel that you're definitely going to want to play, but not without having played the first one. Don't give me that bull about
that's the thing. This is how this segment's going to go. You tell me why I should play it. I'm going to tell you why I already quit it.
All right, you tell us why you already quit it.
Okay. So I think I actually got to the spot you're talking about where the story actually does start to like amp up, and I'm not gonna, even though it's a 2017 game or whatever, I'm not gonna spoil it. So I did get to like think that pivotal point, and that's like where I stopped playing it for some reason. The only cons I have about this game are really your combat against human enemies. How terrible stealth is when you're taking down an outpost, and the inability to interact with the environment. You can't climb on trees, you can't climb on cliffs, there's so many things that you just can't do. And I think the thing that drove me the most crazy about it is that this game came out the same year or very close to Breath of the Wild, and like what Nintendo did with that, given the hardware limitations of the Switch.
There are so many games that don't let you climb everything you see, though. I don't
play those.
Oh my gosh! All right,
but no, it's to the point where you're just like, dude, you can touch that cliff. You're standing there. You can reach up and grab it, and you could shimmy across and take out this bad guy or whatever. And it doesn't let you do that. And so I don't know.
See, now you mentioned the stealth isn't good, and I would disagree, because basically the way that stealth works in this game is you can technically hide behind a physical structure, and the game's good enough that you no longer have line of sight on the enemy, and vice versa. But if Aloy is crouched in grass, she is completely invisible. As long as she didn't run in there from like complete alert, she is completely invisible.
So I agree with you to an extent, and not to interrupt you, but stealth is really cool when you're taking down like those robotic dinosaurs, because you can go into like predator mode and you can track their footsteps and find their patterns and throw the distractions and do all this stuff. When you're going up to an outpost, it's super boring, and none of those mechanics work.
I agree with you. Hunting humans is bad because mostly because there's no melee options. Like, right. The melee options in that game are terrible, because for the most part, most of the giant robot monsters you're fighting are huge, and you couldn't melee them in a way that doesn't turn this into God of War, which this game is not. And I agree with you on all your points. I really do. They are not reasons to not play this game, though, because this game is really good. So,
and I think I would go back to it if I could recover my save file, but I don't think I can. I don't think it's on my cloud saves.
Yeah, I would just do what I'm going to suggest with any game you started that you haven't played recently, which is start it over, put it on easy, skip the cutscenes, because then you're only a couple hours away from where you were.
I'm sorry, the gated fast travel too in Horizon Zero Dawn, where you have to like go hunt 1,000,000 foxes to sell it to a guy so that you can unlock the.
That's only for unlimited fast travel. Technically, you can, once you get enough money, you can buy the there's like a resource that you use, or you can make a thing that gives you unlimited uses for fast travel. You're right. That was a weird choice.
It's dumb, and you have to look it up. And one more thing about this that drove me crazy is that it's really hard to, for me anyway, it was really hard to figure out what loadout made the most sense. Like, I don't think that they distinguished the gear stats enough for me to be able to make heads or tails.
I think you were too early for it to matter. I think because I kind of feel, it's been a while since I played, but I feel like I kind of remember having that same thought. But once you get more weapons and you get the better upgrades to those weapons, their purpose and how you utilize them against the various enemies becomes a lot more clear. But it's hard to say.
So this one's compelling, but let's move on to the next one.
Next one is one that you talked about last week, Batman Arkham Asylum. So this is fresh in your memory. You just started it, so there's no like, oh, where was I? It's pretty easy, especially if you want it to be. Great narrative because it's Batman comic movie, come to life in a video game.
And I love Batman.
And Batman. Batman is a point I have right here. It's Batman, and it's Batman done well. The only major con I have against this game is that, for you specifically, is that, it does become a sort of Metroidvania at some point. You're allowed to, pretty much go anywhere you want on the map after a certain point, and that can lead to getting lost because, it's a little confusing. And then there's no fast travel, so it can be a huge pain in the butt if you get stuck somewhere and then you actually have to be on the complete other side of the map. Not that it would take that long, but it's frustrating. So just make sure you have a guide handy. And yeah, you already started it, so.
This is my front runner. I have really no cons
it's probably
about this one, other than that it's a little dated, and so the combat's a little simple, but at the same time, I really like the stealth aspects of this, and so I think that like makes up for the kind of meh hand-to-hand combat.
There's nothing better than when you like do a bunch of takedowns or maybe an entire room without like actually initiating combat. So much fun.
That is fun. What is not so fun is when you're like halfway across the room from an enemy and you somehow triggered an animation that's like a knockout animation. So your guy like Madden 2001 skips across the whole screen to punch this guy in the face. You just... it's a little jank there.
We're gonna have to dig into why that bothers you so much, because I get it. I do. It's not desirable, but at the same time, it's like, and
it just bothers me.
Put your pants on, Jason. Just put your pants on.
It's my front runner. My pants are off. It's my front runner.
No, and I think, except for maybe Half-Life Alyx, it's the shortest one.
Yeah, which is good.
Next up is Half-Life Alyx. You're halfway through it. Finish it.
It got really hard, dude.
Oh, did it?
It got really hard. I need to dive back in this one particular spot I'm at and see if I can get past it. It's hard and it's scary.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know what to say.
I forgot about the scary part to put it as a con, because scary games are that's a deal breaker if it's too scary to play,
especially in VR, man. Like I feel like I should get some sort of credit for getting as far as I did. Also, you mentioned like long chapters kind of being a deterrent in Fire Emblem. Mm-hmm. I don't know if all the chapters are like this, because they certainly hadn't been up to this point. Chapter 5 is so long in Half-Life Alyx. I swear I've spent like 2 or 3 hours in Chapter 5, which is definitely killing my vibe for this game.
Does that matter to you though? Like I don't understand.
It makes me feel like I'm not progressing.
I see. Because when I say chapters in Fire Emblem, that's the level. That's like saying level 1, level 2,
right.
level 3.
And that's how this is too.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
But there are checkpoints within that chapter. It's just like, man, I've been playing for 2 hours and I'm still in chapter 5. Like,
gotta let go of that too. Gotta let go of a lot of things. Just let go.
Yeah. The next one, I'm definitely not going to
go.
I can't let it go. I'm not playing the next game. I'm letting that one go.
What are you doing to me? Why do you want to hurt me like that?
It's such a good game. I just feel like I can't restart it.
One of these days, you're going to watch me play it so that I can have a good reason to play it for the third time.
I did watch you play some of it.
Like the whole thing. We're going to just do a long finally plays.
Oh, that'd be great.
Except it's Jason watching me play for the third time.
That'd be amazing.
And that game, of course, is God of War. It's one of the greatest games. Like, ever.
And it's not that long. 20 hours really isn't that long. 21 hours, something like that.
And I've played story mode for like a minute, because you can swap the difficulty in any save file, except for you can't, if there's the hardest one, I think it's called God of War mode, and you have to start that there, and I don't think you can change it once you're in. But anyway, I've played story mode, which is the easiest difficulty, and it is like the easiest difficulty in the world. Like, everything is butter, and
But that's so boring.
Well, I'm just saying, you have options.
And I don't have options.
You have all the options. You have so many options. So put it on story mode, skip the cutscenes, and then get the platinum.
My only aversion to this is that I'm literally like 18 hours in, and I just can't. Like I said, Greg rushed me through this game, so I just, my character isn't built to finish the game.
Just drop it. But if it's that bad, drop it to story mode, and you'll have a regular level of difficulty.
Didn't we do that, and we still couldn't progress when you came here?
I don't think so. I think I was just rusty. Oh. And like, if you let the enemy hit you, like I did, they will eventually kill you.
Meh.
All right.
I don't know, man.
Gotta pick one.
I have to pick one of these 4 games, and I have to beat it before The Last of Us Part 2 comes out.
Well, you don't have to beat it.
No, I have to.
Oh,
you have to tell me that I have to, or it won't happen.
All I'm looking for you is I want you to play a game consistently. I want you to pick up a game and then play it. And I know, I'm not saying you've never done that. Obviously, you did it with Half-Life Alyx until you had those hardware issues. That definitely killed some of the momentum.
Yeah, which they have been fixed.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Jason, you have to beat one of these games before The Last of Us 2 comes out, or I won't let you play The Last of Us 2.
That's what I need in my life. Hold on. Last of Us Part 2 release date. Let's see.
June 19th.
No. What's the new one?
June 19th.
June 19th. Okay, I'm going to pick Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum.
All right.
Final answer.
Dude, that's doable.
Yeah, it's only 10 hours, so I really think I can do it.
You could play 2 hours a week at the least.
Yeah. I can do this.
And still be done with it. So.
Okay.
All right.
This segment's called Jason's Vegetables.
Jason's Vegetables. That's a great segment, and we can swap that out for Karch's Vegetables in the rare occurrence that I need to eat them. But
right,
I always make myself eat my own vegetables, whether I should or not. It's like, Karch, you've already eaten a pound of broccoli. Don't eat it anymore.
Stop it, dude. Stop playing Kingdom Hearts 3. You don't have to do it.
No, that's
you don't
dessert.
have to do the New Game Plus. I have to.
That's what I'm going to tell myself at the end of Fire Emblem, because I'm going to want to go through the other storylines. But I think Fire Emblem, I will finish it soon. So I wanted to finish it back in March.
Right.
But I will finish it soon. And I will put it down, but it'll be nice to know that I will have a New Game Plus to come back to when I get the Fire Emblem itch, and I can play, the latest game on my Switch and all that stuff. But yeah, all right, that was
sweet.
That was good. I think that was successful.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to rant today. I know we have one here, but I'm not going to do it. Except that I'll probably be buying a Wii U soon. That's how. I'm going to rant. I'm tired of Nintendo taking so long to port their own games. I know this started off because I was talking about buying Persona, and Jason's like, why don't you just wait for the Switch to come out? Persona 5, that is. And I'm like, it's never coming to the Switch, and I don't think that's Nintendo's fault in this case. I think it's Sony's fault for, either blocking them or literally having, a contract that says, this is exclusive to the PlayStation. But then I was thinking again today, I think somebody was doing a Wind Waker Let's Play. And I was like, man, I really want to play that game. And I really wish they'd put it on the Switch. But they're just not gonna, are they? Not anytime soon. So I'm being reduced to buying a gosh darn Wii U. Just to play this and Super Mario World 3D. These games should be on the Switch already. You shouldn't have to wait for stupid 35-year anniversaries for these two, monumental legacies before you just port some of their older games. It's so dumb.
Agreed. And here's the thing. They ported Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze before they ported Super Mario 3D World. That's crap.
And they could definitely use it right now. They could have definitely used it a couple times. There have been lulls each year the Switch has been out that would have been prime for one of these two titles.
Yeah. That and give us the Metroid Prime trilogy.
That's, like, oh my gosh.
What are you doing?
That too. That could be... I would have to imagine that could be a difficult job.
Then give us the Virtual Console version of it. Like,
Agreed.
You can figure this out.
Agreed. But now I'm going to have to buy a Wii U, which is technically a decent investment because I've never played it, and I never intended on playing it, but hey, now I can. But my Wii broke, and we want to play Mario Party again, and might as well buy a Wii U instead of a Wii if I can play a couple extra games on it too.
True. I mean, there's a I had a Wii U. There are a handful of games on there that were pretty cool.
And I'd be willing to. They're not expensive, especially on like secondhand stores that they have online and stuff.
Oh, there's that one, the Wonderful 101, which is getting a Switch port soon. But there's
very soon,
that one. But
it might be cheaper, and I don't need the enhanced version.
Yeah. Plus, you can experience that second screen.
Which
I guess
dirty plastic second screen.
Yeah, exactly. There were some cool implementations of it. I remember, I think it was a launch game, Zombie U, which they have since ported off of the Switch.
I played that on PS4.
See, and that's the thing is, it was definitely meant to be played on the Wii U because, so for instance, the game had no pause. It was a zombie game, obviously, and you were trying to survive, and basically you were kind of dropped into this thing where it really reminded me of the beginning of Resident Evil 2. That's the one they just remade that you and I played and then I quit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It reminded me of the beginning of that where you're just kind of like forced into this thing and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And you have to go into this building and then kind of search your way around. But like there was no pause. So if you wanted to look at your inventory, you had to take your eyes off of your TV, look down at the Wii U gamepad, and manipulate your inventory in there. And in the meantime, if you got attacked, you got attacked. I mean, there were safe rooms, but there were lots of cool things like that. Or like another really cool feature was they had this heat vision where you could kind of see in the dark, and you could hold your gamepad up to your face like a periscope, and you could look all the way around the room. So even if you wanted to like turn around and look behind you, obviously opposite direction of your TV, you could see on the gamepad what that would look like behind you in heat map, which is cool. So this is like a lot of little cool features like that you just couldn't get porting that game.
It's funny, the heat map thing is cool and obviously only achievable with a secondary screen. But I found the ability or the inability to pause far more frightening and more like stressful, which is what they're going for in the PS4 version, because you can't even see the zombies now. Like it brings up the inventory screen. But
it's more real looking down at your gamepad, because then if you're wearing a headset, you could freak out, look up, and then boom, the action's live.
No, you're right. It's more realistic, and from that perspective, a little bit more immersive. But if you're just trying to capture, stress and fear, the PS4 version is superior in that particular regard. But yeah, I'll finally know what that's all about. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to Karch. In 5 minutes, we're actually going to... I don't know if we're going to be on here on this thing in 5 minutes or not.
We're going to have to pad a bit. See, if somebody else had sent us a question,
Sean.
A second question. Sean did send a question.
Oh, yeah, he did. Sorry, Sean.
Aaron, you can send questions too.
This is work Aaron, not D&D Aaron.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know if D&D Aaron knows what the podcast is yet, but we'll send him
I feel like we should inundate him next time.
We will inundate him.
Hey, shout out to D&D Aaron right here so that if he listens at the end of episode 12, he's got it.
Woo, woo.
Okay. Well, Karch, you know what? Quarantine ending is the worst because I like being quarantined. Or is it?
It is.
Okay, fine. It is. It's the worst. But we could potentially find a candidate for second worst. And that brings us to tonight's segment of Greg is the worst.
Somebody who hasn't been quarantined the entire time.
True. Very, very true. Okay, so this is a game we play for anyone who hasn't listened. We're going to call my brother. He works a crazy work schedule. It's Karch's week to guess. He's going to guess whether or not Greg's going to answer the phone. If he guesses correctly, then he wins, and he gets to punish me by making me play an hour of a game he knows I'm going to hate. And if he loses, then I get to pick a game that he's going to play for an hour that I think he's going to hate. And we'll put the finally plays up on our YouTube channel. Karch, this is your week. Last week was my week. I said Greg was going to answer, and he did. I am not rigging this game, but based on the pattern, I highly recommend that you guess that he's not going to answer.
I'm going to say he's not going to answer because Jason is rigging this game, and he feels bad because Jason isn't a schemer. He's a feel-good kind of guy, and he doesn't want to screw me over on my
I don't rig
birthday.
this game. How do you know that I'm not lying to you? And I rigged it for him to answer.
Because I just said, because that's just not who you are. You feel bad, but you want to keep the idea of the game alive.
It's real game. I don't rig this.
It's so rigged. I'm going to flip a coin. I got this coin flipper on Google right here.
Oh, you're going to...
Flipping. Tails. He is not going to answer.
Perfect. Okay, let's find out.
I just want you to know that if I'm right, it's because the coin said so, not you.
That's fine. I understand. Gotta be contrarian.
Gotta be.
Come on, Greg. If he... Come on. Are you kidding me?
Hi.
I just want to be like Eddie Murphy in Mulan. Just be like, dishonor on you, dishonor on your family.
You're the family, though.
I know. And it's dishonor to me. Oh, okay, fine. What are you going to make me play?
I kind of want to stick with the theme of something you can actually record, but I also really want to make you play Final Fantasy VII.
Make me play it. It's not that expensive. I'll buy it, or I'll just find a way to play it on record on the Switch somehow. I
have it. You don't have to buy it.
No, I'm saying though, I will buy it on Steam to record it.
Oh, gotcha. All right, you're gonna play Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII. 1 hour.
Oh my god!
And I know how long. I know how far you can get in an hour. So don't try to BS me like, oh, I got to the Scorpion boss, which is the end of the demo in the remake.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I'm gonna record it. If you want receipts, then I'll have the whole hour that I play.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right,
man. Well,
hey man, we got like a minute left.
Yeah, let's banter for another 47 seconds. What do you say?
I think that sounds good.
What are you going to do for your birthday?
Nothing. I'll probably clean, honestly. The house has become a nightmare, and I have been really busy, and I haven't had a chance to clean, either mentally or physically. So I'll probably do that after I play some video games.
So you wake up in the morning, you're going to play some video games, you're going to clean. I assume Juliet's going to be hanging out. Is she out of school yet?
No, they got 2 weeks. This is second to last week right now. So, pretty soon. What are you going to get?
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to me!
Woo! Okay, so now we can stop answering. I mean, so Juliet still does have school.
Yes.
Okay, well. Hopefully she just, grins and bears it and just does her math for you.
I hope so, man. Count that money, girl. Count that money.
All right. Well, that is all we have for this week, guys. You can find us over at neverfreetoplay.com or patreon.com/neverfreetoplay. I hope you guys all have a fantastic week. We will try, but we are never free to play.
Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, we always forget to mention that. But we do mention it at the top.
No, I mentioned it at the beginning. I just thought it would be fun this time to say it again.
Yeah.
Is there something... Hold on. Is there something in the background?
What do you mean?
I don't know. There's a noise I kept hearing the whole time. It was driving me nuts. It sounded like voices, like TV or people, but...
Definitely not on my end.
Yeah. I don't know.
Was it my creaking chair?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right, now here's the thing. Here's the tricky part. We're going to stop the recording, so hit the spacebar on 3. Ready? And hit the spacebar. Ready? 1, 2, 3,